Well, historical sequences in comics do, by the nature of the costume, they look interesting, and I love drawing historical costumes on the human figure. If I actually prefer it to modern costume. And so whenever an excuse for a historical sequence comes up, I delight in illustrating that.
When you have a historical sequence in comics, it's a great way of filling in backstory, of course. I mean, with comics, you're dealing with a static medium, so you have to find really interesting ways to get expository information across. And I think the double page spread in issue 1, where Martha Scott is talking about the history of antibiotics, and we're learning as a reader the history in a natural storytelling way.
Serendipity is a really important element in the history of medicine and in science, and we often have this idea of scientists as kind of geniuses working alone, devising experiments and improving knowledge. But actually we overlook a lot of the time the importance of chance and accident. Alexander Fleming is a really good example of this. So he was working on a bacteria called Staphylococci in 1927. And he was famously quite a messy man. And at one point he went on holiday, before which he stacked his set of Petri dishes with these Staphylococcus cultures in the corner of his lab. And he returned about a week later to find that one of the samples had become contaminated with a fungus. What was really interesting was that the area around the fungus, all the Staphylococci bacteria had been destroyed. He in his lab isolated this substance, this antibiotic, which he called penicillin, after a few months of calling it mould juice, which wasn't going to catch on.
I think you can work hard to construct the conditions that make serendipity more likely. Since a lot of serendipitous discoveries have come from particularly scientists getting insights of a different kind from the ones that they get during their normal everyday practice, then I think it makes an awful lot of sense to set up conditions where scientists can have as much contact as possible with people outside their field. It might be other scientists in different fields. It might be people who aren't scientists at all. It might be artists or craftsmen or academics from different disciplines or people with just completely different perspectives.